Welcome back to another episode of Wagny TV. On our previous Ripple episode, we talked through the ongoing XRP versus SDC lawsuit. In today's episode, we're going to take a different approach. We want to talk about what could happen to Ripple if they were to lose this lawsuit and what it would mean for the greater crypto industry. As always, if you like this content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe below, and let's get into it.
So just a kind of quick, deep dive, really brief deep dive into, what XRP is. I know a lot of you folks have probably, paid attention to what it is and have a, somewhat of an understanding of what XRP and Ripple do, but just kind of catching everyone up to speed really quickly here. So XRP is the functional token of Ripple Labs. So Ripple Labs is a company that offers several different products. And uses XRP as a way to administer those products. So the three main products that Ripple Labs offers are cross-border payments. Right now that's a huge pain point that they're trying to solve, right? Because if you're trying to, let's say, go from US dollars to Swiss francs, it takes multiple days, even weeks sometimes, depending on the amount. And there's also a lot of fees incurred in that, right? And it's hard to manage liquidity there. So that's one of the main products that they have. The other one is crypto liquidity. So if you've ever, experienced DeFi or used some of these other DEXs and have gotten involved there, you understand that going from one DEX to the other and trying to manage different crypto liquidity providers can be really difficult and kind of confusing. And so they kind of centralize all that and make it kind of an all-in-one platform to manage crypto liquidity and payments and treasury and all that good stuff. One of the most critical products that they have come to market with is actually CBDCs. So central bank digital currencies have been a big talk as of late around the world, for central banks, for governments, and it's really hard to actually stand one up and manage it. And so Ripple Labs has actually come up with a basically all-in-one, one-stop shop software to manage, to mint, and to basically, handle all of the aspects of a CBDC, right? So from the actual start to actually managing it when it's actually being used by a population. And so those are kind of the main products that Ripple Labs has put forth, and they're using XRP to basically facilitate those. Now, with that background in mind, obviously we have the XRP SEC lawsuit going on right now. The main thing that happened, I think this was back in like 2019, maybe 2020 actually. But basically the SEC is saying that XRP was sold illegally as an unregistered security when they first had their initial coin offering, their ICO. And so this has been a 3-year-long process. And just in October of this last year, we had somewhat of a big break for XRP. And that was that the court essentially ruled that the SEC had to hand Ripple Labs what's called the Hindman documents. So the Hindman documents, just a quick 30-second briefing on that, comes from a man named William Hindman, who used to be the head of the SEC corporate finance division. So that's the one that's actually, attacking Ripple with the lawsuit currently. And he gave an amazing speech back in 2018, 2017, around there, about how Ethereum is not a security. And apparently in that speech, he also alludes to other cryptos that would not be a security. And even though XRP wasn't around at that time, a lot of it tends to kind of lend itself towards XRP not being a security and helping on the argument side there. And the other thing that's part of these documents is emails that he sent, notes, all of these kind of internal chats that he's had. And apparently a lot of them are saying when Ripple got it, they're saying that this is like a smoking gun. Like this helps them win the case like 100%. Like they're excited to get to court. And what's happened recently, just in December and then into early January, is the SEC has actually filed for the court to ignore the Hindman documents and not allow them into evidence. And so now that's a big kind of back and forth that's going on right now. And we should know in the next couple of weeks, we should know whether or not they're going to allow it into evidence. But if they lose that, that could be a big issue for XRP and their ability to win the lawsuit. But before we get into a little bit of a discussion, I think we just kind of want to address what would actually happen if XRP were to lose the lawsuit. And so the only real, case that we've seen similar to this is a company called Veritaseum, and they had a token called VERI, and were basically charged with doing the same thing, right? They had an ICO. They kind of deemed it a security from the SEC standpoint, and they lost the case. And what happened was the SEC seized 98% of those VERI tokens, and they created a fund from the money it seized and offered those VERI holders a buyback. So obviously, it's cool that they offered a buyback, but at the same time, it's not great that the SEC seized, almost 100% of the tokens. And so basically, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to XRP and Ripple. But at the same time, if they were to lose this lawsuit, it's really, really likely that, given that this is the only real case that's similar to XRP, being Veritaseum, that it would go down this path where the SEC would actually seize the tokens and then probably look for some final judgments for the defendants. So Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of XRP, maybe some of his executives, actually forcing them to pay something, and then actually, targeting individuals to pay civil penalties or other judgments like that. But on top of that, also, and we can get into the discussion here, but on top of that, it's really going to be a negative for the entire crypto market if XRP were to lose this case. That means the SEC is going to get more strict. They're going to look at a lot of these cryptos and probably force them to register. A lot of them probably won't be able to register based on their requirements. And so, a long-winded answer of saying that this XRP SEC case is quite important.
Yeah, thanks for the rundown there, Sia. I think, something that's been on my mind, right, is I think we always talk about kind of the two dichotomies, right? They win and it's extremely bullish for XRP, and they go on to do all these great things, and then say the SEC wins and XRP or Ripple loses, and then things just kind of shatter, right? I guess, have you thought about potentially what maybe a neutral case could look like, say, if the SEC were to win the case?
I think it's a fantastic question. I think ultimately the answer has got to be somewhere in the middle, right? I don't think, with how impactful, and I think the one difference between XRP and Ripple and Veritaseum is that Ripple has hundreds of institutional customers already. They're already pretty in deep with a lot of top 100 banks, other institutions, and it's a proven out use case. So they have products that are being used already, and it's an important set of products. And so I think what would be interesting to see is if the SEC essentially almost offers a redo, and lets XRP say, okay, well, let's institute a new token. Let's do it the correct way this time. If you're going to call it a security and raise money that way, call it a security to start out. You can keep Ripple Labs, but XRP can't be a piece of that, right? And so maybe they redo that aspect of Ripple Labs. The problem being, though, that XRP is pretty important to how the Ripple Labs products operate. So from that standpoint, it'd be interesting to see how it kind of hinders Ripple from doing business with other folks and kind of slows things down there. But I think a cool medium point would be basically the SEC saying, hey, yeah, okay, you guys lost. That was, not legal what you guys did in 2020, but let's kind of come to an agreement of what would be a redo, since you're already, these products are already being shown to have a product market fit. So I think that'd be an interesting medium, but at the same point, the SEC is not known for being very easy on people.
Yeah. See, do you think this is a case where, this use case would be better suited for stablecoin rather than XRP? Or what are your thoughts on, the possible implications of the SEC saying, hey, this is actually a better use case for stablecoin. XRP can still be valid, but maybe not used with some of Ripple Labs' core products that they sell.
I think that could be an interesting case too. I could totally see that happening. I also wouldn't be too surprised if Ripple says, you know what, we've spent so much time developing XRP, we can't go back and do this, out of respect to our clients and who we have in operation right now. So maybe they either hire an outside group or acquire a stablecoin outfit that already has kind of everything figured out. But I could see that being a serious consideration, because I think the issue becomes when you're using XRP, which is a very volatile asset, to then facilitate some of these products, so like cross-border payments, crypto liquidity, CBDCs, and allow it for kind of have the bridge between currencies. When it's so volatile, like obviously that's going to attract attention from the SEC, and then also, cause a little bit of an issue for clients if, say if there's a huge drop in XRP in the couple of day time frame, they're trying to do a cross-border payment, then that becomes an issue in terms of getting the equal value from currency to currency. So I think you make a great point where a stablecoin might make more sense for them. And I could see that kind of coming into the fold in the next couple of years if they kind of get through this SEC case.
And I think it's something on the past episode we talked about, could XRP be an ERC20 token and be utilized that way? Like, what are the other alternatives if this, was a case that the SEC won? Because, what it sounds like is they want control in this case. They want to be able to, not only limit the amount of power that XRP has, but also maintain control of the power of the US dollar in this industry and for this use case. And so I think it's interesting that, this really is a battle for crypto because it affects a lot of other coins that are in that same use case and in that same situation. And so it's something that, it's interesting. I hadn't heard of, what was it, Veritaseum before. But obviously, that's something that the SEC is looking to be able to take further. And it seems like you're saying XRP is 10 times, I don't know how many times the size of Veritaseum. And this could be a huge case that really hurts crypto if it's not won by XRP, or excuse me, by Ripple.
I think it's really interesting, right? Because many of the people in the crypto community, right, they believe that Ripple really is now fighting for the crypto space, right? Other than Bitcoin, which has been deemed as a commodity, right? They're really fighting for all these other coins. And it's just an interesting dichotomy because we talk about how this might set the tone for all the regulations that come into the US and potentially the rest of the world, right? The US is a world leader from that perspective. And then you think about some of the things that the crypto community also doesn't like, which are CBDCs, right? And so that's like one of the big things that XRP is kind of aimed at, right? And so it's interesting. It's like this weird, it's this weird point where all of these people from the crypto community are looking at Ripple and being like, they need to win this in order for my coin, the coin that I want, to not be listed as a security. But then on the other side of that, they're like, well, once XRP wins, they're used by many companies, they're used by many banks, they're used by many countries, right, for these bank-to-bank payments, cross-border payments, all those things, and CBDCs. And so it's just a really interesting scenario, I think, for the entire community to be in, when it's like, on one hand, maybe we want them to win in that scenario, but on the other hand, if they do win, that could bring about some of these things that we might, not necessarily like as a decentralized, heavy crypto community.
That's such a good point, Mata, and it's funny because when the SEC filed for the Hindman documents not to be shown as evidence in the court, Brad Garlinghouse kind of went on a little bit of an unhinged Twitter thread, and because a lot of people were coming at them saying, "Oh, well, XRP's screwed now. Like, you guys aren't gonna be able to use the Hindman documents, all this stuff." And he basically went on this huge thread, and I wish I had it pulled up, but basically saying like, listen, this is all of us. Like, this is all of crypto. Like, this is not just XRP. Like, if you hate XRP, cool, but that's like, you're also screwing yourself by rooting against us, because if the SEC wins this case, then it's precedent for the rest of the cases against crypto. It can always be used again in court, and they can say, well, look at the XRP case. Look what happened there. And it can be used overall, just over and over again. So I think you've been a lot of great points.
I guess for kind of closing this out, Sia, what are your thoughts between the differences between XRP and Veritaseum? What does XRP maybe have a leg up on that Veritaseum didn't in their SEC case?
Well, from what I can understand, so John Deaton is the one that also covered Veritaseum. John Deaton is basically, it's called amicus curiae. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but friend of the court. And so he's like been one of the lawyers that's been really advocating for XRP holders. A couple of different things with that case. So first of all, Veritaseum at the time that it actually had all this happen, there wasn't necessarily like a viable product that they were serving. It was really just pretty clear cut. Like they said it wasn't a security. They raised money as a security and ICO'd. Whereas Ripple is working with, institutions. They're working with top 10, top 15 banks. And their tokenomics is a little bit more sound than what I've been able to read about VERI. And the other thing too is that there's a lot more holders involved and a lot more eyeballs on XRP, which obviously can work for their favor or against their favor as well. But Veritaseum wasn't necessarily as mature when this happened, whereas XRP and Ripple has been around for a while. XRP ICO'd in 2019, but Ripple and their kind of whole philosophy of what they can bring to the table in terms of use cases has been around for quite a long time. Whereas Veritaseum and the VERI token, it was very centralized around just raising the money for the VERI token on the ICO. Whereas XRP had Ripple before that, and there was already a viable set of use cases and products that they had planned to roll out, and XRP was just a piece of that. And so that's kind of the main difference that I've been able to kind of delineate. There's not too much detail on the Veritaseum case. I've read a few articles on it and kind of listened to John Deaton on his takes for it, but that's kind of what I've been able to pick out.
That's awesome, and thanks for covering that. I know a lot of people liked it last episode, so. I think it's definitely something in the summer of 2023, this summer coming up. We'll have more to report on once we hear what the SEC has to say, hear what Ripple has to say, and hear what the judge has to say there.
Yep, they're thinking mid-year for a decision on this. So, who knows? Maybe it kicks off an early bull run into the Bitcoin halving in 2024, or it sends everything to another leg down. We don't know yet.
Yeah. As always, if you guys like this comment, feel free to like, comment, subscribe below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this and a lot of the other news that's happening at the moment. But as always, stay safe, WAGME, and we'll catch you next week.